Arroyo is obviously a lock with his 16 wins. Do the Reds need to re-sign him? I think it's a $13 million buyout for next year. How important is that for the Reds?
I think it's very important, even though the fact the Reds are overloaded with starting pitching and they're going to have a pick of 6 or 7 starters the same way as it was this spring training, and they're talking about making Aroldis Chapman a starter next year. You're talking about a whole bunch of young pitchers. And to me, they need one veteran presence, one guy who's been there and done that, one guy who's had success. And you're talking about Bronson Arroyo. You're talking about a guy who has never been on the DL in his life, has never missed a start, gives you 200 innings every year, gives you 15, 16 wins. That's a pretty good anchor on any pitching staff, plus the fact what he can do to help the young players. I think it's very important that they sign him and bring him back.
All right, Hal, we all know that you tell it like it is, and we all know what happened when you asked Brandon Phillips, why do you hate the St. Louis Cardinals? Do you agree with Brandon Phillips? Can you remember any other player being that adamant about his feelings towards another team?
Yeah, I can think of a lot of cases, but they don't go public with it. And I give Brandon Phillips credit that he said what a lot of other teams think, what a lot of other players think, what a lot of the media thinks. And he came out and said it, put his name to it, and I admire him even more. And he didn't back down when he had a chance to say he was misquoted. He had a chance to throw me under the bus and say it was off the record, or say it he was quoted out of context. He didn't do any of those things. In fact, he came up to me the next day and kind of punched me on the arm with a big smile on his face and said, "Great story." Yeah, I think he was just saying what a lot of people think and was brave enough to do it publicly.
Will you kindly describe your love-hate relationship with the game of baseball?
I don't have any hate relationship with the game of baseball. I love baseball. I've loved baseball all my life. It's been my life. I mean, I've covered baseball for 38 years. I always tell my wife that someday I'm going to have to get a real job, but I never did. I mean, think about it. I love baseball. I love to travel, and I love to write. I got to do all three for 38 years, and I got paid for it. It's just something that I've always loved and I'm passionate about. And I always told everybody that when they asked me when I would retire, that I said I would retire when my head hits the laptop. The Dayton Daily News took that away from me, but fortunately there's some other people and other avenues out there that I've been able to continue doing it, and maybe I will do it until my head hits the laptop.
Yeah, it's got to be great. And another thing I really enjoy that you do is when you visit Marty and the Cowboy in the second inning of Reds broadcasts on 700.
Are you gonna eat all this?
What would be your fondest memory of Marty, Jeff, Joe Nuxall? Just reminisce about that, would you?
It's a whole lot of fun to do that because Marty makes it so easy. Every time I would go in the booth, Marty would say, "What do you got for me?" As if to ask me, what topic do you want to talk about? And I would say every time, nothing, and he would get a disgusted look on his face and shake his head. And then we'd go on the air, and he'd have 2 or 3 great questions. He just made it so easy. And probably the biggest thrill I had of going in there every day was seeing Joe Nuxall in there. And after Joe passed away, every time I'd go in there, and while, I loved the Cowboy and loved seeing him sitting in there, it just wasn't the same without Nucky sitting there. I really miss Joe Nuxall.
You can't talk about the Reds this season without mentioning Chapman, which we already have. You said they eventually want him to be a starter next year. What role do you see him playing in the postseason for the Reds this year?
I think he'll do exactly what he's doing right now. He'll be a setup guy, come in the 7th, 8th inning, or come in to face a left-hander or two when needed. And he's done a pretty good job at it. I think he's only had one difficult time. The rest of the time he's either blowing that 103, 104 mile an hour fastball past him or buckling their knees with that unbelievable slider. He's got a great changeup, and he hasn't even had to use it that much yet because he's doing so well with his other 2 pitches. But eventually they're going to see that changeup too, and it's going to make him even more effective. But I think he's going to be a very good weapon in the postseason in that setup role.
Hal, you coined the phrase Big Red Machine. You covered the wire-to-wire Reds. What would be your favorite Reds moment ever?
Wow, you mentioned earlier that I'd covered 7,000 games, and Actually, I think the count was like 25,000 stories I've written, so it's very, very difficult to pick out one. But probably Pete Rose's hit to break Ty Cobb's record. Everybody knows that there's no cheering in the press box. Jerome Holtzman, an old sports writer from Chicago, wrote a book called No Cheering in the Press Box. We're just not allowed to do that. But for the only time in 38 years of covering baseball, when Pete's hit fell into left center field, the entire press box stood and cheered and applauded. And that's something I had never seen before and haven't seen since. So that was a very special moment. Plus, Tom Browning's perfect game has to rank up there. You know, it's not often you get to see a perfect game, even though there's been a couple of them this year. But that's the only one I have seen in my 38 years. And then the Carlton Fisk home run in Game 6 of the 1975 World Series ranking there. So that'd probably be my top three.
As we're getting to the end of 14 questions, I want to ask you about the end of Jim Edmonds' career. Only 42 players have ever hit a home run in their last at-bat. Glenn Braggs would be the only Cincinnati Red. He said he was expecting the injury. Do you think the Reds are going to push him to make the postseason, or do you think he's done?
It depends on how serious that injury is. They certainly like to have him around. You know, he's got experience in the postseason, and as he showed last night by hitting a home run in his first at-bat before he limped around the bases. He's the kind of guy that they could use on the postseason, but, you know, he's been hurt ever since the Reds picked him up from Milwaukee, and it doesn't look to me like he's going to be able to make it. But I'd like to see him keep him on the roster just to be around Gabe Bruce and Drew Stubbs and Chris Heisey and Chris Galeka. Those guys he is helping tremendously. I don't know if, you know, you can waste a roster spot just to have the guy do that, but you could still, you know, have him around to do that until the end of the year, because I think he's pretty much said he's already going to retire, and we probably did see his last at-bat unless he has some kind of miraculous recovery.
Our 14th question always revolves around the Hit King. You were at the forefront of the local coverage covering Pete Rose in 1989. I'm aware that he's been making amends with people like yourself and Johnny Bench lately. Do you think he'll ever make amends with the game of baseball?
I think he's trying hard. I think he has tried hard. He's saying all the right things. He probably has made amends at most levels, but I don't think it's going to be enough ever to get him reinstated. And we all know he belongs in the Hall of Fame. 4,256 hits. I mean, think about that. If a guy plays 20 straight years and has 200 hits every year, that's 4,000 hits, and he's still 256 short. That's never going to happen. He's going to be a hit king forever. But I don't think he's going to be reinstated. I know he won't be reinstated as long as Bud Selig is commissioner. And without being reinstated, he's not eligible for the Hall of Fame. So I don't think he's going to be there. Shoeless Joe Jackson was banned in 1919. He hasn't been reinstated, and unfortunately, I don't think Pete will be either.
Hal, I want to thank you a lot for your time. It's been an honor and a pleasure speaking with you. Is there anything else you have for our listeners?
I appreciate all the support I've gotten over my 37 years from my readers, and I hope to continue doing it for as long as I can, and I hopefully I'll be fortunate enough this year after 15 years that we'll finally get to see the Reds in the postseason, and I'm really looking forward to that.
It's exciting, and we'll be following you till your head hits the laptop, that's for sure.
Hi, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Hal.
Take care.
Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.